Hello fellow hunters of the night, this is Omega Ace Gaming with a post-commentary for my no-death run of Castlevania Belmont's Revenge. I've included a link in the description for anybody who simply wants to watch gameplay without the commentary, so if you prefer raw gameplay, check it out. Also, if you have any interest in Castlevania the Adventure, I've included a link to that no-death run in the description and at the end of this video. Without wasting much time, I quickly selected the very first stage highlighted by the cursor, Crystal Castle. The banging tune in this stage is called New Messiah. I can tell you right now that there isn't a single bad song in this game. Not only that, but just about every song is memorable. Here's another roundup of the collectibles in this game. Coins are back, which net you points. Hearts make a return, with a different purpose. This time around, they serve as ammunition for your sub-weapons. Small hearts count as 1, and large hearts count as 5. The crystal ball increases the power of the Mystic Whip, the first increasing the range, and the second granting you the ability to launch fireballs. Lastly, the sub-weapons. The classic battle axe, which is lobbed in an arc, and the holy water, which drops in front of Christopher, deals multiple hits of damage as it lingers. Once again, Europe received a super cool colored version of this game, in the Konami Game Boy Collection Volume 4. A significant difference in this version includes the omission of the battle axe, being replaced by the boomerang cross. The enemy that was just slain is referred to as the Evil Knight in the instruction manual. They're taken out with 3 powered whip strikes. Soon after, we're introduced to water creeps, which unfortunately don't get much screen time in this run. The Punaguchi makes its triumphant return. This time around, it is far less threatening. Interestingly enough, it's one of the few enemies in this game that downgrades your whip when you get hit. This wasn't the case before, seeing as that in the adventure, any damage would downgrade your whip. I'm so glad this is no longer the case. Much like in the adventure, there are false ceilings in this game, so climbing ropes beyond their length is recommended. For anyone curious about where this fits in the overall timeline, Belmont's Revenge takes place in 1591, 15 years after the events of the adventure. A much welcomed addition in this game is being able to slide down ropes as well as whip while you're on them. They basically fixed every single thing that was wrong with the previous game. Big Eyes are back, an enemy exclusive to the games in the Christopher Belmont saga. This room is also proof that you should attempt to whip every overhang and corner in this game. There are a ton of hidden hearts and wall meats. Even I laughed at my luck when I jumped between the lizard's blades. No, that wasn't skill, that was dumb luck. At this point in the level, I can't help but appreciate the structures in the background. They sort of remind me of the 12 temples in the animated series Saint Seiya. Yes, I know this has nothing to do with Castlevania, but I really wanted to plug that in there. And here's another new enemy, the Fornius, also called the Absorber. It's pretty tame as far as enemies go. Attacks cause this enemy to pause, so they're highly unlikely to close the distance successfully to attack you. Another wall meat. Remember guys, always check overhangs and corners. The ominous song, Road of Enemy, can be heard at the end of each level. It builds anticipation as you approach the stage's boss. This simple yet awesomely designed boss, Darkside, attacks by summoning lightning strikes from a cloud. If you stand on the far ends of the screen, the strike's flames can't reach you. The crystal that briefly appears is this boss's weakness. By the way, the song that's currently playing, titled Evil Gods, plays for every boss fight aside from the second to last and final boss. A major regret of mine in this particular no-death run would be the fact that I was so quick to select each castle. Because I was in such a rush, you guys don't get enough time to appreciate the stage select theme Journey to Chaos. Time for Cloud Castle's theme, Praying Hands. It's much slower than most Castlevania tunes, but man is it awesome. Here's the Raven's official artwork from this game. You'll notice the artwork I use often varies from black and blue. The blue art is actually from the Japanese instruction manual. I made sure to include this art since many of the game's enemies didn't get artwork in the North American manual. Any black colored artwork you find is from my own North American manual. I scanned these in for fun and was pleased with being able to practice using Photoshop. I expect to see this continue in future no-death runs. It's my way of showing my appreciation of the official artwork. So curiosity led me to climb the top of this rope to see if there was anything beyond the ceiling. Even though there was nothing there, it's good practice to do this in the Christopher Belmont titles. You'd be surprised at what you find. Notice the effect on the bottom of the screen. This hazy effect is a reminder that this castle is built atop a cloud. You gotta love the little details sprinkled throughout this game. The rising spikes in this level remind me of colored pencils. I feel more so this way in the Game Boy Color version of the game. FYI, I do have other completed Castlevania no-death runs at this point. The editing process takes time with everything going on in my personal life, but expect to see many more of them. I'm proud to say that the Game Boy Trilogy is complete, although Legends in particular was a real headache. Not necessarily because of the difficulty, not in the usual sense anyway, but more because the game continuously ate my jump inputs. I'd constantly approach gaps in the stages, press jump, and the character would just walk right off the stage and die. But I won't talk about that run anymore, not in this video anyway. It wasn't until I'd commissioned Nefarious West to make a bunch of Castlevania Perlers for me that I noticed that Christopher Belmont's sprite is actually a little different when compared to Castlevania the Adventure. You'll notice the most prominent difference is in the chest area. For those of you who aren't aware, many of the early Castlevania titles have dramatically different cover art depending on the region version you purchase. The North American cover, drawn by Tom Dubois, features Christopher fighting Iron Doll, the boss of Rock Castle, with Crystal Castle and Cloud Castle in the background. And the Japanese cover has Christopher Belmont with his son Solail on the left, Dracula's castle on the right, and Drac overseeing everything. Which brings up an interesting point. For those of you wondering what Castlevania is, it's actually the name of Dracula's castle, also referred to as the Demon Castle in Japan. At this point in the game, I passed up several bats, but I wanted to throw one into the bestiary, so here it is with the official artwork from the manual. The boss from Cloud Castle, Angel Mummy, has one of the most badass designs I've seen in a Castlevania game. I hope you guys enjoy the art for this boss, as it makes things a bit more apparent as to what it is exactly that Christopher's fighting. Notice the face in between the two skulls. It's kind of a shame that this is such an easy boss to beat. You'll notice I barely had to move at all. The platforms on the left are really more a distraction than anything. And there go the 3D glasses. I absolutely love wearing them, but they mess with my eyes pretty bad. Plant Castle's theme, Ripe Seeds, suits the level very well. Notice the blooming flowers in the background as Christopher passes them. Now this particular bestiary edition is a bit confusing for me. I couldn't find undermoles in either the North American or the Japanese manual, but I did find these weird looking rats. I'm assuming here that the creature was redesigned and renamed in the game's artwork, and what they previously referred to in the adventure was forgotten. Personally, I don't think they look anything like rats or mice. In fact, they look more like amphibians to me, but it is what it is. And there go the big eyes and their explosive nature. Here's an Omega tip for anyone who's curious. Holy water melts big eyes, negating the explosion that causes them to destroy bridges. This will make crossing them much easier. Ever since I added a timer in the Castlevania adventure, I've been asked by a few people if I was getting into speedrunning. My answer for the time being is no. I simply included it to give people a rough idea of how long it takes for every level in these games to be completed. In fact, I generally take my time exploring and searching for the hearts and wall meats, and there's one right there. Another strange entry in the bestiary. I couldn't find the North American name for this enemy, although some sites refer to the enemy as rope-climbing skeleton, which is pretty damn literal. But when you refer to the name given to it in the Japanese manual, calling this thing a cheetah is random as hell. Here's the giant bat. If attacked with a powerful weapon, it dies instantly, but when struck with a weaker attack, it splits into smaller bats. The colored artwork shown here is from the Nintendo Power issue number 29. This particular issue has an in-depth guide to Castlevania Belmont's Revenge, which is often overlooked due to the Star Trek cover. The Madman, or Mudman, returns, this time without the spelling error. Like I mentioned in my Castlevania The Adventure No Death Run, the English manual had a typo, so the enemy was originally called Madman. I'm glad they fixed this. They got me right between the eyes. Sorry guys, I had to. I love the moving ground and Sporus background. The details, guys. I couldn't tell you which video game did it first, but the idea of climbing the webs left behind by the spiders has always been something I felt was really cool. Castlevania executed this very well, encouraging players to kill the enemies more strategically. So Cumulo and Nimbler are the bosses of Plant Castle. If you look at the North American manual, they're mistakenly listed as the bosses of Cloud Castle, with Angel Mummy being referred to as the Plant Castle boss. Rather than it being a simple mistake, research would show that they were likely originally intended to be the bosses of the stage. The primary clue here is how their names bear a striking resemblance to the types of clouds, cumulus, and nimbus. The more you know. On top of being an awesome song, Psycho Warrior has a badass name. It's at times like this that I wish I was better versed in music terminology. But to put it simply, this particular song has so many layers to it. There's a constant beat that plays in the background, while the music in the foreground practically guides you through the level. I can gush about this soundtrack all day, and I will. The walls in the background are decorated with birds, eyes, and symbols. I get sort of a Mayan vibe from them. So the holes in the background make me think back to Stage 2 in Castlevania the Adventure. The enemies that were once undermoles make a return here. Not as bosses, but as common enemies. Is Rock Castle supposed to be a return to the level from the adventure? Perhaps. The beetle, or the cave snail, remains asleep unless the candles in the background are destroyed. These candles double as a source of light for these caves, which I found to be a really cool mechanic for a Game Boy title. The game devs are so creative. To make my life a little easier, I steer clear of destroying the candles. I'd rather be able to see where the pitfalls are. Remember how I suggested you climb above ropes? Here's a reward I got for doing exactly that. I also broke off a corner from the ceiling for an easy one-up right here. Yep, there it is. For a moment there, you get to see how dark it gets if you destroy all the candles in a single area. Scary, right? Did you guys catch that? That was me losing my head over how close I was to losing my no-death ring. Scared the hell out of me. Here's an Omega tip for you all. The arm holding the huge bed of spikes can be destroyed, making these next segments dramatically easier. Remember the lizard whose blades I slipped past the first few times? Yeah, I wasn't so lucky this time. Here's the Rock Castle boss, Iron Doll. This particular boss got a lot more attention than the rest in this game. He was featured in Nintendo Power artwork, as well as the game's cover. He's also the only boss in this game to have two forms. Somebody must have really liked this boss. That fight got pretty sloppy. In fact, I was only left with 3 bars of health. Thank goodness that worked out. Dracula's castle, Castlevania, emerges between Crystal Castle and Cloud Castle, with its own map and dramatic song titled Castle Number 2. This epic freaking track, Original Sin, is accompanied by demonic-looking horse rider statues. The level of detail on these statues is mind-blowing considering how small they originally looked on a tiny Game Boy screen. Here are the Zeldos again. It seems like they're a staple enemy for the endgame in these Christopher Belmont titles. As always, I love their design. for a moment, you can see me leaning towards the camera. I'm super eager to make it past these next few levels so I can take a chance at fighting Dracula. Even though the game is relatively easy, the length of it is roughly 50 minutes to an hour, so dying late in this game is costly. That notification sound that just occurred notifies the player that the Puniguchi's attack has downgraded their whip. Be careful, guys. In Castlevania the Adventure, any enemy would downgrade your whip. I'm glad they changed this. Now this boss, the Bone Dragon, or the Ground Serpent, is all about moving ahead of them. You'll notice that if you strike ahead of the screen, you may be able to deal a few hits of damage. This is key to making this boss fight much easier. Now here's some unique trivia. The song that plays in this particular stage, titled Passbeat in the official soundtrack, is actually a part of the song Sweet Bergamasque, written by French composer Claude Debussy in the late 1800s. For anyone who would like to compare the two songs, I've made sure to include the original in the video description. The beautiful music actually fits really well with the rest of the soundtrack. Even though this is not originally a Castlevania tune, it fits so well that you'd swear that it was. I guess you could say that speaks volumes about the game's quality of music. These particular beds of spikes need to be broken down at the right time, otherwise you're unable to leap onto the necessary ledges and ropes. Even though I couldn't make that jump on time, leaving and returning to the screen respawns the platforms, so be sure to keep that in mind, guys. On a personal note, I have been considering making an update video to let everybody know where things are with the channel. I have a lot of unfinished projects, as well as ideas to revamp the brand, but my personal life has kept me particularly busy. For anyone who wants to talk shop about our channels, let me know. I love hanging out with people while working on projects. And heads up, I may dive back into Nintendo 64 games, and I'm considering pulling an all-nighter on the Saturn version of Castlevania Symphony of the Night, titled Nocturne in the Moonlight. Let me know what you think, guys. Heads up guys, don't ever let these tiny gaps scare you into jumping. You could just walk right over them. That particular 1-up right there is pretty hard to get. That was mostly luck. As you guys may have noticed, I accidentally killed a spider right there. I simply walked away and walked back to respawn it, so, you know, be sure to do that if you need to. That instance with the breaking platform and spiders had me totally scared. I'm glad it worked out the way it did. The song that plays leading up to this battle is called Solail's Room. It's brief, but it gets the job done. The song that plays when talking to Solail is called Faith. The dialogue here is changed in the Konami Game Boy Collection Volume 4. Sort of an interesting detail. I don't really know which dialogue I prefer. And here's the boss, Solail Belmont. The song that plays here is called Chromatische Phantasie. Yep, another classical song. This time by famous German composer Johann Sebastian Bach. Here's a fun bit of trivia. Solail Belmont was mistakenly translated as Solail in the North American version. This was later corrected in the Konami Game Boy Collection Volume 4. For those who are unaware, Solail literally means sun in French. Seeing as that the sun is the natural weakness of vampires, it's a very fitting name for a Belmont. This fight does take a bit of practice. All I can really say is to hug the center platform until Solail tosses the blades, and wait for him to come to you. Once you know if he's coming to the platform above or below you, you just go around him and create a distance between the two of you. Many people are quick to think that the fight against Richter was the first instance where you, the protagonist, battles a Belmont, but that's actually not the case. If you've stuck around this long, I commend you. The song here is called Road of Enemy Number 2. The final bridge with the skeletons holding the scythes in the background is awesome. The song that plays during the final battle is called Sons of Satan. It's a pretty epic track, and it captures the moments of the final game perfectly. Interestingly enough, Dracula only has one form in this game. And here's my most valuable tip for taking on Dracula. Look at the platforms as if they're the face of a clock. This will help memorize exactly where you should stand and crouch to avoid Dracula's orbs. Don't get greedy and take your time. While this may not be the fastest way to defeat Dracula, it is the safest way that I could come up with on my own. I made sure to include the numbers on the screen to help those of you who want to master this fight. I still can't believe that orb hit me. And that's the game. This beautiful end theme is called Union. Castlevania always has the nicest credit themes. I'd like to take this moment to dedicate my no death run to 21 Samich. In terms of gaming skills, this community has many dark horses, and he's among one of the best. For a time, 21 accomplished enough no death runs to be given the nickname the Konami Killer. It's because of this that I gained the motivation to start this series of Castlevania No Death.
I'm interested in this.
I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the like button, subscribing, and turning on the notifications, as it does help keep the channel going. Anyway, I hope to see you next time during my No Death Run video of Castlevania Legends. Also, be sure to stick around until the end of this video, as I did include clips to show you some of the work involved in the making of this video. You'll notice the timer on the screen flickered and then went away. That's OBS being a pain in the butt. I'm sorry, guys. I was using OBS to record the gameplay, and it just acted up on me. This is Omega Ace Gaming, and thanks for watching.